Locky and Broski.
I've been locked in.
Hold on, let me let them know we're on live. If we're already live.
We are. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the H&H Sports Podcast. I'm Tanner Hicks, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Jackson Huey. There he is. Welcome back to another episode of the pod. I just want to jump straight into this week's what we got stored for this episode because there's way too much stuff we have to cover. Like, good lord. Let's start with the most recent events that's happened in the sports world, which is the NFL trade deadline. We always start with college football, but let's mix it up this week, and start with the NFL. The NFL trade deadline was nothing short of unexpected, and just like we don't hear rumors about these trades we don't hear rumors at all up until they actually happen.
Facts. Like TJ Hawkinson caught me off guard, bro.
And he went to the Vikings of all teams. They traded him to the Vikings. Like, brother. I'm trying to find, all the trades that happened.
It was a lot.
But yeah, the trade deadline was absolutely crazy. The fact that, I think the Jaguars...
I ain't trying to interrupt this, but Memphis is retiring Lorenzen Wright's jersey.
Lorenzen?
Anyway, keep going. That was irrelevant, but I just saw it.
The trade deadline itself, the whole year's worth of trades have been pretty crazy. The 49ers getting Christian McCaffrey. I don't even think we touched on that. I think we probably did. We've kind of had to. But the 49ers getting Christian McCaffrey, I think that was great value for both teams. Obviously, the 49ers believe, as they should, that their Super Bowl window is right now. And they trade future assets to get Christian McCaffrey, who is a dynamic offensive weapon, to say the least. When they already have Deebo Samuel, who is arguably the best dynamic weapon, most dynamic weapon in the NFL. Great move for the 49ers. I also loved it for the Panthers getting, that much value back for him. I thought was exceptional. Robbie Anderson go to the Cardinals. I mean, Cardinals get another weapon after losing Hollywood Brown. It's a Cardinals. Robbie Anderson is a Cardinals player. The Panthers get something back for him. James Robinson going to the Jets after Breece Hall goes down. A good move for the Jets, I guess. Robert Quinn going to the Eagles, I thought was a great trade for the Eagles. Robert Quinn, his sack numbers are down from last year, but I thought his sack numbers last year were kind of inflated anyway. But this year he's getting the quarterback more frequently. They're just not turning into the sacks that they were last year. But pressures and sacks are always, I find pressures to be more valuable than sacks are, because sometimes you can get a cleanup sack and you get the credit for it, but it was a result of somebody else's pressure. So I think pressures are more valuable, and Robert Quinn is one of the tops in the NFL in pressures so far this year. In Philadelphia, getting him for a 4th-round draft pick I thought was exceptional value. Kadarius Toney going to the Chiefs. This happened the 27th, I think, day of or day after our podcast, whatever. I thought it's a good move for the Chiefs if Toney plays. Toney, all we could really say about Toney is that he had 200 yards one game against the Cowboys last season. He hasn't really done much. He hasn't really played. He needs burn to be able to have an opinion on this trade. Obviously, Joe Shane didn't think he was a guy he wanted on his team. Dave Gettleman drafted him. When it's pretty often with new management in the NFL, if they're not someone you drafted, you don't really think it's your guy, you get rid of him and start fresh. And we kind of saw that coming with the Wan'Dale Robinson pick last season in the draft. But I think if Kadarius Toney plays, this is a very good move for the Chiefs. Toney is a very Chiefs-esque player. Andy Reid would have a field day with someone like Toney in his offense. So I think it's a good move for the Chiefs. Well, we'll see how it turns out for the Giants. What I thought was a great trade for both sides was the Ravens getting Roquan Smith the day before the trade deadline, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it was.
Chicago getting a 2nd-round pick. AJ Klein, which was cap reasons, I'm pretty sure, and another 5th rounder next season. Or no, they're both 2023 picks. I thought that was a great value that the Bears got. It's better than losing him because he didn't seem like he was gonna. He held out in the offseason, obviously ending his holdout and still playing was, we hats off to Roquan Smith for doing that, especially in Chicago. But it didn't look like he was coming back. He didn't want to sign a long-term extension with Chicago, and Chicago had to do something about it. And getting a second-round pick when they had no leverage, pretty much, I thought was good on the Bears' part. What I didn't love about the Bears is them trading a second-round pick to get Chase Claypool back. What I don't understand is why you think you need to trade that much value for a weapon like Chase Claypool. I don't think Chase Claypool is good enough to be your number 1 or even number 2 option in your receiving core. We've seen him be the 3 option for the Steelers and excel in that role. Like we saw that more in 2020 than we have the past season and a half. But I don't think Chase Claypool was worth a second-round pick. I thought if it was a 4th, maybe it's a different story. But a second-round pick, I didn't love it for the Bears. I mean, we'll see how it turns out. Maybe he is worth the second-round pick. But to put that in perspective, DeAndre Hopkins was traded for a second-round pick. So do with that information with what you will. The Lions trading, like we touched on this earlier, the Lions trading T.J. Hawkinson, I thought was completely unexpected, let alone them trading to a division rival, the Vikings. The Vikings losing Irv Smith Jr. was, a reason they decided to pull the trigger on this trade. The Vikings get T.J. Hawkinson a conditional 4th in 2024, and Detroit gets back a 2023 second and 2023 third. Now, when you draft a tight end in the top 10, you expect him to turn out maybe like Travis Kelce or even someone like George Kittle, and when they don't turn out that way, it's always going to look like a bad draft pick, even though T.J. Hawkinson is like far and away a top 10 tight end in the NFL. Excuse me. T.J. Hawkinson is a great tight end. He's one of the more complete tight ends in the NFL. But when you draft him 8th overall and he has these like sky high expectations, he's always not going to live up to those when you're drafted 8th overall if you're not going to be an all-time great. It's just the sad reality. And
Amon-Ra St. Brown to the moon.
More targets for him, like he wasn't getting enough. But Hawkinson getting traded to Minnesota, I'm pretty sure he's on a contract year. We'll see if Minnesota keeps him or not. But
good bad day to be an Irv Smith fantasy owner.
Yeah, he's probably missing the whole year. Pittsburgh getting
he
back.
was regardless.
Yeah. Pittsburgh getting William Jackson from Washington. Now, Washington said they were going to release him if they couldn't find a trade partner. So I like this. The Steelers trading a conditional 6th-round pick, to be able to guarantee that he's on your team and you don't have to go through waivers and stuff.
Yeah, didn't they say it could become a 5th?
Yeah, it's a conditional 6, so it could be. Yeah, I think a 6th or a 5th or a 4th, depending on a lot of things. But William Jackson was going to get released regardless. He wasn't going to be a commander at all after the first. And the Steelers giving up a conditional 6 just to lock in that he's on their team and not having to go through waivers, I thought was, I liked that the Steelers did that. I think the Steelers got better over the trade deadline. Losing Chase Claypool, addition by subtraction, you could say. But yeah, Steelers, I thought they were pretty good during the trade deadline. Another big trade, Dolphins getting Bradley Chubb from the Broncos.
Bro. The Dolphins turned like Laramie Tunsil into Tyreek Hill,
Jalen Waddle, and Bradley Chubb. Bro, the Dolphins front office has been really, really, really good. I think the Miami got their 1st-round pick vacated, confiscated, however you want to say. They don't have their 1st-round pick next year. And the 1st-round pick they did trade was the 49ers, I believe, to Denver. Denver's trying to restock on draft compensation after trading all of it away for Russell Wilson. They get back Chase Edmonds, who will be he'll be on the team. I'll say that. And Miami obviously gets Bradley Chubb, and they do get a 2025 fifth-round pick. I love this trade for the Dolphins. They haven't been getting to the quarterback all that well this season, to say the least. Jonathan, we'll get to college football in a minute, Jonathan. You can die. Yeah, Bradley. Obviously, Miami gets Bradley Chubb back. Miami hasn't been doing the greatest at getting to the quarterback this season, and Bradley Chubb obviously does help with that, with him being an edge player, a very good one at that. So I do like this trade for the Dolphins. I do like it for the Broncos getting back a first round pick and another fourth in 2024, just restocking those picks.
Jonathan's like 2 weeks behind, by the way.
he just wants to talk about LSU. Jacksonville getting Calvin Ridley. Now, this was probably one of the more unexpected trades. Obviously, Jacksonville has to wait till next year to even have Calvin Ridley play for them. And Calvin Ridley is kind of sneaky old. He's probably 28, 29 years old right now. He was a very, very old rookie.
It is funny because
he's 27. He's 27.
He bet on the Falcons to beat the Jaguars, and now he's a Jaguar.
He's 27 right now. He'll be 28 at the start of next season, which is kind of hard to believe because he wasn't drafted that long ago. He was drafted the same year as DJ Moore. But Atlanta does get a conditional second-round pick and a conditional fifth-round pick in 2023 and 2024. So I like this trade for the Falcons. If he's not going to play for you and he's going to be a free agent this offseason, you're probably not going to get him back. You might as well get something for him. So I do like this trade for the Falcons. They're fine off without him at the moment. Arthur Smith is working wonders with that team. The fact that this team is sitting at 4-4 is a miracle in itself. And Jacksonville getting their, I don't want to say number one receiver yet. I think Trevor Lawrence would definitely benefit from having a number one type receiver. And Calvin Ridley has, the skill set to be that. He's a very good separator, one of the best separators in the league, and I think that's what you need to be a top receiver in the NFL. But we'll see how well he ages. We haven't seen him have to be a number one receiver yet, so we'll see how this trade works out. I do like the value that the Falcons got back. Jeff Wilson going to the Dolphins, reuniting with Mike McDaniel. Cool. A sneaky good trade for the Broncos, getting Jacob Martin from the Jets. Denver gets a 2024 fifth, and Jacob Martin from the Jets, and the Jets get a 2024 fourth-round pick. Jacob Martin is a solid defensive lineman. He wasn't going to play on that loaded Jets defensive line, so trading Bradley Chubb, Broncos get something back because obviously they're trying to compete. I do like this trade for the Broncos. I thought it was pretty good. Nyheim Hines going to the Bills from the Colts.
That helps the Bills a lot. The Bills backs suck.
The Bills in the offseason were looking for a pass-catching running back by trying to get J.D. McKissick, but McKissick backed out of that contract and went back to the Commanders. So they draft James Cook, who was the best receiving back in the draft, and then they get another exceptional receiving back in Nyheim Hines. So that really, just the rich get richer with the Bills.
Before that, the Bills' running back room was pretty bad. I know they got Devin Singletary was solid, but
pretty good. That's pretty much it. Rashad Fenton to the Falcons and Dean Marlowe to the Bills. The Bills needed safety help bad. So yeah, they had someone better than those practice squad guys than they had. Trade deadline was probably the craziest that I've seen so far.
I was sitting there at 255, 355, whatever it might be. It's 355 for you, and I'm like, Packers, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you got
Packers
5 minutes.
didn't trade for
5 minutes left.
receiver.
What are you doing?
I think it said they tried bidding for Jerry Jeudy, but the Broncos didn't like what the Packers were.
They want a second round pick. But the Packers offered a second for Chase Claypool, but they wouldn't offer a second for Jerry Jeudy.
I would have rather taken Jerry Jeudy because Jerry Jeudy is a better separator than Chase Claypool. The Packers
offered the same thing the Bears offered, but the Steelers thought the Bears pick would be higher, which is probably fair.
It is fair, but they're looking at both kind of the same record, I think. Just depends on what how both their seasons end, but you'd probably bet that the Bears would finish worse.
Maybe the Packers are all in on Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know.
I mean, I hope for Rodgers' sake, I hope. Yeah, that one of the probably the craziest trade deadline that I've seen since following the NFL. Most definitely, a lot of big players getting moved.
It felt like the NBA trade deadline.
It did. It's just but you see rumors beforehand in the NBA.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen some Bradley Chubb rumors. We've seen some,
Naheem Hines a little bit.
Yeah, but like most of these just happened. Like you heard about it the second it happened, and that was I liked that. That was fun to me. You know, just seeing like this guy got moved. This guy got moved. Like
gotta have the Adam Schefter notification zone.
Definitely.
On
and
trade deadline
Ian Rappaport. The NFL was pretty crazy this week. We can move on to NFL pick'ems now, unless we want to recap any of the games. I mean, we can see we could talk about the did you watch the Panthers Falcons game?
I did not.
Do you know what happened in that game?
Oh, I did see the end of it, or I saw some of it, a little bit of it.
Bro, it's a wonder Eddie Pinheiro is still employed right now, huh?
You talking about where DJ Moore took off his helmet and got the penalty?
Bro, it's a miracle that Eddie Pinheiro is even employed right now still for the Panthers. PJ Walker throws one of the best throws I've ever seen in my life. Hits DJ Moore in stride to tie the game against the Falcons. Falcons pull the most Falcons.
Okay, that won't focus, but
pull the most Falcons ending ever, and allow the Panthers to tie the game. DJ Moore takes off his helmet. They get a 15-yard penalty added onto the PAT. Eddie Pinheiro misses. Go to overtime. Mariota throws a pick. Panthers get in field goal range. Shorter than the extra point. Eddie Pinheiro misses again. Falcons drive down, hit a field goal. I would have cut him right after the game because he's literally the reason they lost. You could attribute it to DJ Moore, but like people saying that the reason that the Panthers lost is because DJ Moore took off his helmet. What is he like? How do you blame a guy for celebrating a Hail Mary catch? Like what? You celebrated. You're the reason we lost.
Like, well, maybe if our kicker go back a 30-yard field goal, we'd win. I mean,
obviously, you'd rather the field goal be shorter and him not get that penalty, but it's like refs probably don't need to throw a flag in that situation. He's celebrating a late touchdown to tie the game with practically zeros on the clock. You don't throw a flag in that situation as a ref, but they did, and that's what happened. And I'd hate to be DJ Moore right now with what, like, I'd hate to be DJ Moore right now because you're thinking like, oh, I'm the reason we lost, but not really. I thought the Raiders getting shut out by the Saints was pretty remarkable. The Saints,
Raiders are just bad.
The Saints are, you'd say, a top 3 injured team in the NFL right now. They're just depleted like none other.
Do you think Devontae misses A-Rod yet?
I think they both miss each other. This Patriots-Jets game, I think Zach Wilson is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL at the moment. He's really bad. Titans-Texans, one of the most boring games I've ever seen in my life. Derrick Henry made that game watchable.
Derrick Henry pretty much put the team on his back.
49ers-Rams, McCaffrey threw, caught, and ran in a touchdown that game. That was pretty cool.
Bro, I feel like everybody went crazy in fantasy this week.
I know this was a pretty good.
Like every single player.
It was a pretty.
I played my brother, and I had Jalen Waddle, but he had Tyreek Hill.
Bro, the Waddle Tyreek Hill connection has been.
And then I had like DeAndre Hopkins, and he had Tony Pollard. Every time one of my players scored a lot of points, he just canceled them out.
That's funny. Giants, Seahawks. Seahawks are looking like an actual decent team. Like, it's not like I don't think the Seahawks are going to slow down. Like, I think this team might go 10-7.
Is Geno a dark horse MVP candidate?
He's not going to win MVP. He's not.
Is he a dark horse? Is he a dark horse?
I don't think so. He'd have to throw 40 touchdowns at least for Geno Smith to win it.
I didn't say he was going to win it. I said, is he a dark horse?
He could be, but it is Geno Smith. What the Seahawks are doing right now, I think, is probably the most impressive thing in the NFL at the moment. You could probably attribute Brian Daboll coaching the Giants up to 6-2. But I thought the Giants had a little bit of a better roster than the Seahawks. I said at the beginning of the season, the very first episode of this podcast, that the Seahawks had the worst team in the NFL top to bottom. It was either them or the Bears.
Both did.
It was either
both did.
I think we said Seahawks top to bottom worst team in the NFL. They're the number one team in their division, sitting at 5-3. One of the best offenses in the NFL, and with Geno Smith at quarterback. It's mind-blowing to me. What I think Pete Carroll right now is the coach of the year. You could say Sean McDermott, you could say Brian Daboll, sure, but my coach of the year right now is Pete Carroll, because the fact that this team is 5-3 is I think is a miracle. You could say Arthur Smith too, with how bad the Falcons are, and they're sitting at 4-4.
They had a home run on Kenneth Walker, by the way.
And I remember seeing them bashing the Seahawks for taking Kenneth Walker, because, obviously, you take quarterback, you take Malik Willis, but Geno Smith, they knew Geno Smith was going to be, they knew he was going to be him all along. This Packers-Bills game I thought was really boring. That's just me, but I didn't really, 27-17, you think it wouldn't really be a boring game, but I thought it was pretty boring. Bengals-Browns, Bengals got the brakes beat off of them by the Browns and Jacoby Brissett. Like, the Browns didn't even look good. It's just who looked worse, and that was the Bengals. The Bengals just looked worse.
I mean, Nick Chubb looked good.
Yeah, Nick Chubb was fine, but that was it. It's hard to score when you don't have Jamar Chase. This week in the NFL was pretty crazy. What I think is pretty cool is that this week's Thursday night matchup is Philly and Houston. When Philly and Houston are playing in the World Series right now, I think that's pretty cool.
I didn't even know that.
Great scheduling by the NFL. Nobody's ever said that ever.
Yeah, they 100% did that on purpose.
Let's get to the pick'ems for the NFL. Why not?
You want to do the NFL or do college?
For sure. Philly and Houston, we might as well pick the game. Philly is 7-0, best record in the NFL right now, looking like a juggernaut. AJ Brown went nuclear last week. I'm gonna go with
AJ Brown last season.
I'm gonna go with Philly. I don't really think it's a question.
Yeah, it's not Philly.
Chargers, Falcons in Atlanta. Keenan Allen probably not playing. Chargers are coming off a bye. They've been looking shaky recently. It feels like It feels like the Chargers haven't played in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it does. I'm probably gonna go Chargers.
Their last game was against the Seahawks. They got beat by 14. I'm gonna go with the Falcons. The Chargers aren't really trustworthy right now. The Falcons.
Kyle Pitts finally showed up.
He did. The Falcons almost lost last week's game, which is concerning. But they still won. Josh said Georgia by 50. We'll get to college in a little bit. We'll get to college in just a minute. I'm gonna go with the Falcons to beat the Chargers at home. It's a weird week. Cincy, Carolina. Carolina has been pretty exceptional since trading all of their good players and having PJ Walker start. Cincy's been looking rough, or just Monday. They've been looking decent before that, but Monday they look kind of shaky. I'm still going to go with the Bengals, but I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina put up a fight, because under Steve Wilkes, Carolina has been looking way better than they ever looked under Matt Rule, which is weird to say, because last time Steve Wilkes coached a football team, they won 3 games.
And PJ Walker looks a lot better than Baker Mayfield did.
NFL's just absolutely wild. Packers, Lions. I don't know what to make of this game. The Packers have lost 4 straight.
Who was the Panthers playing?
The Bengals. No, you didn't pick that game.
Where's it at?
Cincy.
I'll probably go Bengals.
The Bengals. Lions, Packers. Packers have lost 4 straight. 3 or 4. 4 straight, I think. Lions.
I'm going to go Packers.
Have lost however many straight. This is in Detroit.
DeAndre Swift might miss another game, sadly.
Field. I'm going to go with the Packers, but I kind of wouldn't be surprised if the Packers lost.
Yeah, me neither.
Buffalo at MetLife going to play the Jets. The Jets looked terrible last week. I know they only lost by 5, but I think the Jets looked horrific last week. I didn't think they looked good at all. And the Bills.
You lose Breece Hall and everything just goes to crap.
I know. The Bills looked a little shaky, but the Packers defense is no joke. I'm going to go with Buffalo.
Yeah, confidently.
On the road. Minnesota at Washington. Washington came back against the Colts last minute, beat the Colts on the road. Minnesota is 6-1, and they just traded for a top 10 tight end in the NFL on top of their offensive weapons, but also Justin Jefferson hasn't scored a touchdown since week 1. So Justin Jefferson is nowhere to be seen at the moment. Still going to go with Minnesota.
Yeah, still going with Minnesota. Here we go with this again, picking the same teams.
I know. Raiders, Jaguars. There's only 2 4:00 games this week. That's weird. Raiders, Jaguars. This is in Jacksonville. Raiders coming off a shutout. Getting shut out against the severely beat up.
We got a spam comment.
Severely beat up Saints. Brother.
Anyways.
Yeah, there's only 2 4:00 games this week, but that has nothing to do with this game, though. I'm just saying. The Raiders got shut out last week against the severely beat up Saints. Alvin Kamara had his best week of the year in that game. And the Jaguars are coming off a last-second loss against the Broncos. You know, you think you'd trade a decent amount of assets for a player, and you think you'd be excited for them to play right away, but they can't play. And they're going into free agency. Now that I think about that trade more, it's like kind of weird that the Jaguar, if they keep him, then yeah, it's a good trade. But who knows if they can keep him?
Oh, is he a free agent after this?
Yeah,
year?
he's a free agent in the offseason. I think he has a 5th-year option. But I think he's a free agent.
They're like 100% gonna pick that up then, right?
I think so.
I
mean, I'd hope so.
What are they gonna do? Appeal the suspension? Like, he plays for us now. It's okay.
I'm gonna go with the Jags at home. I don't like the Raiders at all. I think the Raiders suck. I'm gonna go with the Jags at home.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Jags.
Seattle going to Arizona to play the Cardinals. The Cardinals lost to the Vikings last week. And the Seahawks won by multiple scores against the Giants. I'm gonna confidently. I don't know. Do I go with the Cardinals? Because their offense has been pretty elite since DeAndre Hopkins has come back. And Seahawks defense is kind of questionable. You pick first.
I'm going Arizona.
At home. I'm going to go Seattle then. So we can mix it up.
You want to be different.
I don't
Okay,
know.
got it.
I don't know who to pick. Like, I honestly think this is a pretty even matchup.
It's probably a coin toss game, but yeah, I'm gonna go Arizona.
I'll take Seattle on the road. The Rams going to Tampa to play the Buccaneers. Both teams looking pretty miserable right now. Tom Brady's
The
single.
Bucks didn't make any moves either.
I know the Bucks didn't do nothing. Tom Brady made some moves.
They did have a former player badmouth Devin White, but that's about it.
Tom Brady shook some things up, took some things up, but the Bucks didn't. And the Rams just suck. They're just terrible. I don't know who to pick. Who sucks worse in this game? Who do you think sucks worse in this game?
I'm gonna go with the Bucks.
The Bucks at home.
Yeah. Brady's got to bounce back at some point.
I know he's not been good this season.
Maybe
he loses.
Sure he hasn't been good. I think it's just like
the whole team. Todd Bowles is not a good head coach. That's what it is. Todd Bowles is a great defensive coordinator. He's just not a good head coach. I knew it. But I thought the talent would outweigh that and they'd still be good. But Todd Bowles has shown he's not a good head coach. But
yeah.
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay at home. Tom Brady, no distraction. No moho anymore. He's going to go out and ball out.
You got to go out there and impress the ladies.
The Sunday night game. Been waiting all day for Sunday night. We got the Tennessee Titans going to Arrowhead to play the Kansas City Chiefs. If Tannehill doesn't play, I'm going with the Chiefs to win by 100. But if Tannehill does play, I'm going to go with the Chiefs to win by 90.
Yeah, I'm probably going Chiefs. I hate to pick against the Titans.
I haven't picked against the Titans yet this season, but we've kind of had a cupcake schedule so far, and we're 5-2.
Yeah,
and we didn't trade for a receiver or no.
We have won 5 straight. Yeah, we've won 5 straight.
But we've had a cupcake schedule.
So, we have had a cupcake schedule.
We have a bottom 3 offense in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
so
dude,
I'm not really confident.
This hurts, but AJ Brown has 5 touchdowns, and we have like 1 as a team.
I remember watching Robert
receiving
Woods.
Touchdowns.
I remember watching Robert Woods get that touchdown too. It was against the Colts. He has our only receiving touchdown in the entire season from a receiver, and AJ Brown had 3 last week by himself. Thanks, John. Anywho, Baltimore at New Orleans on Monday night. This is a weird game. Hopefully the Saints are fully healthy again, and we get to see a fully healthy Saints versus
hopefully not
mostly healthy Baltimore.
Chris Olave to the moon. We don't want Michael Thomas. We don't want Jarvis Landry. Just Chris Olave.
The Saints have been looking all right. I'm gonna go Baltimore though on their road.
Yeah, I gotta go Baltimore.
On to college football. I kind of want to react to the playoff rankings real quick.
I don't have them, so
what the 2 things stood out to me right away. LSU being at 10.
Hold on. I did look at them last night, and I went back and looked at my predictions. I got 2. I hit 2 I got 2 right.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. I got 2 right, and that was Tennessee at 1. And can you guess what the other one was?
Ohio State at 2.
No, because I had Ohio State at 3.
What? USC at 9?
No, Tulane at 19.
Brother, mine's probably miserable because I had Washington in there. Hold on, I'm literally about to check.
I had like 6 or 7 that I missed by 1 spot. Like I had them at 14 and they ranked them 13 or something like that.
It was because Wake Forest lost too, so that kind of threw it off. So did Syracuse.
And I didn't expect Kentucky to get clobbered.
Yeah, they got absolutely raped, bent over. They just ranked some of these teams a little high. I had Tennessee at 4.
Like LSU?
I had Tennessee at 4.
The only reason they ranked LSU 10 is because they're trying to build up that matchup.
Literally. Oklahoma State also lost.
LSU has no win that tells you they're a top 10 team.
It's the fact that they're LSU. I mean, they have the Mississippi State win or the Ole Miss win.
They do have that, but
I was off UCLA by 2. I got Oregon at 8 right. I had USC at 12. I had Michigan at 3, Georgia at 2. Dang, I got the top 4 right, except I had Clemson at 7.
I had Clemson at
8. The fact that they had Clemson in the top 4 is perplexing. Here are a couple things that stood out to me.
I don't care if they're undefeated. I think I'm taking Alabama over Clemson.
Right now, absolutely. The couple things I found perplexing about this
poll. I'd put Alabama at 5, probably.
Probably. The fact that
Michigan 4.
A couple of things that stood out to me. The fact that Michigan isn't in there, I think Michigan is 100% a top 4 team right now. Definitely over Clemson. I think the unanimous top 4 to me is Tennessee, Georgia, Michigan, and Ohio State. I think those are the top 4 teams probably a good bit. You could argue Alabama. You can't argue Clemson. Clemson is not a top 4 team right now. I think Clemson probably loses this weekend too. You can make a case for TCU over Clemson right now. I would probably argue TCU over Clemson.
Yeah.
LSU at 10, the only 2-loss team in the top 10. I would put UCLA over LSU right now in the top 10. I mean, that's probably it.
Who plays each other?
It's that they wanted to rank Ole Miss under LSU because of the head-to-head win that they have, which I understand, but I would probably move LSU probably down to 12. I don't know. I wouldn't have them at 10.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy.
Maybe that's just me, but that's what I reacted to it.
You probably would put Florida there, but
Florida, yeah, you can die. That's just what I thought of it. I mean, I would put Alabama and Michigan and TCU, probably not Oregon, but I would put at least those 3 teams over Clemson right now. Clemson definitely is not a top 4 team in my eyes. They are 4, so I probably am a little overreacting, but man, that's just me. And yeah, they do all play each other. The teams I said that are in the top 4, they play each other this season.
Yeah, but they haven't played yet, so they are the top 4 right now.
Yeah. Michigan, Ohio State play in the last game of the last regular season game, and Georgia and Tennessee play this week. We'll cover that game after we finish talking about this, but yeah, I got 1 right out of this. I think. Hold on, did I have Texas at 24?
It's kind of following the same pattern as all our predictions.
I took Texas out. Yeah, we aren't good at this. It seems like at predicting stuff. Yeah, and South Carolina lost 2 to Missouri. That was kind of pathetic. But yeah, that was a pretty crazy first playoff poll. I did not expect Tennessee to be ranked 1. I thought it was going to be Ohio State, which in my opinion, I still think it is Ohio State. Tennessee does have more ranked wins. They do have the win over Bama, but I just think, I don't know. I just personally right now, I think it's Ohio State. But after this weekend, we'll figure it out.
Now I get to listen to people. Now I get to listen to people for another week tell me Tanner hates Tennessee. A whole nother week I get to listen to that. He won't ever give us our credit.
Tennessee, Georgia. Let's talk about the game since it's on our mind.
Okay.
The game's in Athens. Georgia is favored by 8.
Yeah, I don't expect this to be high scoring.
I don't know. There is a world where it isn't.
There is.
There's also a world
by
where
not
it
high
is.
scoring, I'm talking like 31-24, something like that.
What I found interesting is that Georgia.
It's not. I don't think Georgia's letting up 52.
Georgia's not going to let up 52, but Georgia may not score enough
to beat Tennessee.
Even if Tennessee scores like 38 or 31, I don't know if Georgia can do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
If Georgia has to score more than...
They may need a couple defensive scores.
I'm not like what they did enough to get by against... I say they won by 25. I say they did enough to get by, but they did enough to win against Florida last week. They almost blew it, but they did enough. They scored 45 on Florida. You can make a case that Florida's defense is on par with Tennessee's. Just athlete-wise, right? So I don't know if this is going to be low scoring or not.
I think Tennessee's weak point is their secondary. I think their run defense is pretty solid.
It has been all year. We saw that in the Kentucky game. Kentucky couldn't do anything offensively.
Yeah, I just think that their secondary is a question mark, you know.
What I thought was interesting is that Georgia in the matchup predictor on ESPN is 75% favored to win.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
If anything, I think it's more favored to Tennessee because they are. You can make a case they are the hottest team in college football right now, and Georgia hasn't been that caliber this season. But this is also the first time ever that the number one team in the college football playoff poll is playing the number one team in the AP poll in the regular season. So it's number one versus number one this weekend in Athens. This game, regardless of how many points are scored, is going to be a crazy game. If somebody gets blown out, it's going to be unexpected. Like if Georgia gets blown out, we're not going to expect it. If Tennessee gets blown out, we're not going to expect it. Like either way, what's going to happen is going to be crazy. Like I said, Tennessee is the hottest team in college football right now, easily.
I'd probably rather sit at home and watch this than go to the Memphis and UCF game.
Are you going to that game?
I'm supposed to be.
Wow.
If it's raining, I'm not. We're not good enough to sit in the rain and get beat.
Yeah, I would much rather watch that game. You know the lowest ticket for that game is?
The Tennessee. I mean which game?
Tennessee Georgia. Game? You know what the
cheapest
ticket?
It's like $500 something.
It's like close to $600. The cheapest ticket for that.
And that's game. I think that's standing room.
Yeah, like it's like the worst ticket you could get.
No way I'm paying $600 to stand up the whole game.
I'd rather just watch it on TV than pay $600 to just kind of be there, you know. We can pick this game while we're talking about it. I'm gonna be honest. I've said in previous weeks that I think Tennessee can and will win this game. But the more I think about it, the more I just don't know. We say that Georgia has been struggling, but the fact of the matter is Georgia is one of the best teams in the country. And they have probably more talent than Tennessee does. Tennessee is just they've got good coaching and they've got players that buy into the system. I'm not saying they have bad players, but Georgia, in my opinion, is a bit more talented.
On defense, for sure.
It's especially on defense, especially in the secondary as well.
You could argue Tennessee's more talented on offense, I think.
Probably. I trust Tennessee more on offense. You pick first, because I have no clue.
Man, I don't know, man. I've picked Tennessee in almost every game they played this year.
I can't say the same.
You cannot.
I will always be a Tennessee hater no matter what. I knew this day would probably come that Tennessee would be the best team in the country.
They can go 12-0. They can go 12-0. I'm going to hate on them for something. I mean,
we're going to find a reason to hate them.
But I'm going to take Georgia in a close one.
Georgia wins in Athens, according to Jackson. I don't know. I don't know who to pick. I really don't. I'm not going to flip a coin. I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick the Vols on the road. I think the only way that Tennessee can win is if they just surprise Georgia's defense. Georgia's defense is one of the is you could argue is talent-wise is the best in the country. They haven't really played like it this year. They lost a lot of guys. They lost their defensive coordinator, so they're losing a step was kind of expected. But even then, they're still arguably a top 5 score predictions. Oh, I can't. Bro.
I can't. Who said that?
Jonathan said predict the score. We can, but it's just like it gets one of two ways. It's going to be a defensive type game, like how like we kind of hype the Bills Chiefs game to be this way. Like, you know, two of the best teams in the NFL, high scoring. We're probably gonna both score in the 30s. Both of these teams are going to play this game like it's a playoff game. Like they're playing this game like it's the national championship, because this is going to be one of the most hyped games that I've ever been a part of, or not been a part of. That's dumb, but that I've ever like seen. This is probably the most hyped game since the LSU Alabama game in 2019. And this has like similar like circumstances, if that makes sense. I'm going to say 38-31 Tennessee. I think Georgia can score points, not at the rate that Tennessee can, obviously. I don't think anybody in the country besides Ohio State can score, maybe TCU can score at the rate that Tennessee can. And how effectively they can score. Georgia just doesn't have that on offense. That's not with Stetson Bennett at quarterback. I'm going to go with Tennessee to win 38-31.
I'm going to say 27-24 Georgia.
Slower scoring game. I think Tennessee's going to put up...
That's probably not going to happen. That's probably not going to be it. But that's just what I'm going to guess.
I think Tennessee's going to put up points regardless of who they play, to be honest. I mean, last season they only put up 17 against Georgia. But Georgia last season is top 5 team of all time. So I'm going to say 38-31 for the score prediction. I think Tennessee is just going to put up points regardless of who they play, even if it is Georgia. Yeah, I'm going to pick Tennessee to win. It's going to be a wild game. I'm not going to be upset if I'm wrong. I just want to watch some good football. This might be... We hyped up the Tennessee-Alabama game, and for good reason. That game ended up being one of the craziest games that I've ever seen. I don't think that this will be that, but it will be a crazy game because both of these teams are ranked number 1 in 2 different polls, and we've never seen 2 teams ranked number 1 in 2 different polls play each other in the regular season before. So this will be a great game, to say the least. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a very close game.
Yeah. All right, you ready?
For sure.
All right, starting Friday. Because, I mean, there's not really nothing interesting tomorrow other than App State, Coastal Carolina. You want to pick that?
I mean, not particularly.
Okay. Friday, Oregon State, Washington. Washington's favored by 4.5.
Oregon State, Washington. Oregon State is ranked.
Mm-hmm. They're both 6-2.
I had Washington in my poll. I think Washington is Washington favored. I would guess that they are.
Yeah, 4.5
at home. Yeah, I'm gonna go with UW in this game. Michael Penix has been on one this entire season. I'm gonna go with UW to win this game at home.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is tough. I'll probably go Washington too, though. UCF, Memphis.
UCF's gonna win.
Yeah,
I hate it here. I
I'm
hate
taking
being a
UCF.
Memphis fan right now. I hate it. UCF's gonna
UCS for
win.
everybody. UCS for about 3.5. By the way, I'm honestly glad the line's only 3.5.
UCF will cover. I mean, this is gonna this if anything, I would guess. I'm not gonna expect it, but this would be a game that we do win. Because we usually win ranked games at home.
Silverfield has never lost to UCF.
I mean, that's a lie. We lost them last year.
Did we?
Yeah.
Well, he's got a winning record against them anyway. That's what I meant.
I think we'll lose. If anything, like I think this is a game we could win. We're pretty good. We have a good track record at home, especially against ranked teams at home. I'm gonna go with UCF though. Like I as much as I want to pick Memphis, UCF. Like there would bias fan in me coming out. I can't pick Memphis to win this game. I just can't. I don't trust them at all.
No.
To do anything.
Clemson, Notre Dame, in South Bend. Clemson's favored about 3.5.
I'm gonna go with Notre Dame. I don't.
Bro, you stole my pick.
I don't trust Clemson right now, man. I don't.
Stole my pick, bro.
I'm
always doing that.
I'm picking Notre Dame. Fight me. I'm picking Notre Dame as well. Clemson's just been bad. They have one of the worst third down defenses in the entire country. They're not trustworthy on offense. They had that anomaly of a game against Wake Forest. DJ Uiagalelei just forgets how to play football all of a sudden after he's been a top 10, you could argue top 5 quarterback this season. Up until that point, I'm gonna go with Notre Dame. They don't have a good quarterback, but yeah, no, I'm gonna go with Clemson. I kind of talked myself into it. I'm gonna go with Clemson. Clemson's been bad, but they're better than Notre Dame. So I'm gonna take Clemson on the road. The last time they played Notre Dame in South Bend, they did lose. But I'm gonna take Clemson, not confidently, but I'm going to take Clemson.
I'm gonna take Notre Dame. I'm gonna throw this one on here just because I want your input. I know who you're gonna pick, but I want to know if you think they cover. Ohio State, Northwestern.
What's the line?
38.
38? I think they can cover easily. Northwestern hasn't won in this country yet. Northwestern won in Ireland and forgot how to win in America.
They did beat Scott Frost's Nebraska team though, so anyway, we're not gonna waste time on that.
Ohio State covers. I think they're the best team in the country. I will stand by that. Until Tennessee wins this weekend, I'm standing by Ohio State as the best team in the country.
Texas Tech, TCU. TCU's favored by 9.5.
Dude, Vegas is disrespecting TCU, bro. I'm going with TCU, and I take them to cover. They did struggle last week against West Virginia. I'll give them that. But TCU, I think, is going to put up 40. This is going to be a Big 12 game. But I'm going to pick TCU to cover and win this game.
Kentucky, Missouri.
You gonna pick the game?
Oh crap! TCU. My bad. I thought I said it. Kentucky, Missouri. Kentucky favored by 1.
Missouri. I'm going Missouri.
Missouri.
Kentucky has no momentum at all. They got killed on the road in Neyland. Yeah, you could say what else was going to happen, but Missouri's coming off a ranked win. Kentucky's coming off an absolute beating. I'm going to go Missouri.
I'm going Kentucky.
I might look stupid. But that's my logic. I'm picking Missouri to win. Back-to-back games.
Okay. I'm going Kentucky, though. I don't know if Missouri's ever won back-to-back games.
They have. They're a historically good school. It's just they haven't been recently.
Florida, Texas A&M. I'm going Florida.
This is a mid off. This is the middest of mid offs.
A&M's favored by 3.5.
This is the middest of mid offs that I've ever seen. I'm going Florida. I'm hopping back on the Florida train, baby. It's good to be back. Florida is winning. They're winning by 30, and Anthony Richardson is going to throw 5 touchdowns. And Billy Napier is going to be named Coach of the Year next week after that game. It's good to be back on the Florida train, man. I missed it. I hadn't been here for about a month, but I've missed it, man. Anthony Richardson throws 5 touchdowns. He might throw 4 picks, but he'll throw 5 touchdowns. And he'll run for 100 yards. He'll fumble 2 times, but Georgia's still going to win, or Florida's still going to win. It's the recipe for success.
All right, a classic Big Ten football game. Iowa, Purdue.
Oh, good Lord. Purdue wins.
It's Purdue minus 4.5. Yeah, Purdue wins this game.
Purdue's not your traditional Big Ten team. They're more of an offensive-oriented team.
I do think it'd be low scoring, though.
I'm going to take Purdue to beat Iowa back-to-back seasons. Iowa's not ranked 2 this time, but Purdue still wins it.
Let's see here. Okay. Baylor, Oklahoma. OU's favored by 3.5.
Baylor beat the brakes off of Kansas last week. I think that was last week or 2 weeks ago. I think it was last week. Oklahoma beat Iowa State. I'm going to go with Oklahoma. Just because I don't really have I don't really have a reason.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go Oklahoma too. And I don't have a reason.
Is it at Norman?
Yeah.
No, I'll go Oklahoma. Are you?
We already picked Tennessee, Georgia. Hold on, I'm looking for one. Okay, Oklahoma State, Kansas.
I'm going
Oklahoma State's favored by 2.
I'm going with Kansas. Kansas, please win a game. Please win a game. You go 5-0, you get the Big 12 schedule, and you forget how to win football games, man. No.
Well, they get Texas Tech next week, and that's probably their best chance at getting that 6th win.
I'm going with Kansas. I'm not going to pick against them at all this season. I'm going with Kansas. Kansas, please win. Oklahoma State didn't score last week. Well, is Jalen Daniels playing?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Either way, Kansas is going to win. Oklahoma State, they're going to fire Mike Gundy. That's not going to happen. But Kansas is going to win. I don't need Kansas to win. I'm losing my mind. Kansas needs to win, please.
I'm going Oklahoma State. They score this week.
Oak State, they score. I'll bet that. I'll bet the over on that. Over under 0.5 points. I'll take the over.
Syracuse, Pitt. Pitt's favored by 3.5. Wow.
I'll go with Pitt. I had them beating North Carolina last week. Obviously, that didn't happen. So I'm going to go with Pitt again. Pitt's going to beat a ranked team finally.
I'm going to go with Syracuse. See, this is the ones we disagree on.
Pittsburgh is winning. Maybe not in the NFL, but in college this week, they're going to win.
This one's interesting. Liberty, Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to go Arkansas.
Who's favored? If Liberty's favored, I'm going to be upset.
Arkansas, 13.5.
That's what I mean. Like, Arkansas is an SEC team. They're the most SEC team that can be. Grounded pound, good athletes on defense, grounded pound team. And Liberty has not seen that. I don't care who they played. I don't know who they played, but they haven't seen that at all this year. They're going to lose by maybe a lot, probably a lot. Arkansas is going to win. Remember when Arkansas was ranked in the top 10?
Remember?
Now they're not. Now they're not.
Anyway, I don't know anything about those teams, but it's South Alabama, Georgia Southern.
What?
They're both 6-2 and 5-3. Anyway, we don't got to pick that one. Alabama, LSU. Alabama's favored by 13.5.
I forgot about this game. I'm not gonna sit here and think like am I gonna pick LSU? No, Jonathan, listen to me. LSU's not winning. If LSU wins, I will Venmo you $100 that night. If Jonathan just said LSU. If LSU wins, I will Venmo you $100. I promise you. LSU is not winning. LSU might get killed. I don't care.
LSU might cover. I think LSU might cover.
Where is this? Is this been Baton Rouge?
It's at Death Valley at night.
Oh, good Lord.
He
said I'm getting ready.
That.
He said I'm getting ready for that 100. Bro, Brian Kelly, remember the last time they played Alabama? Suck. He's not good against Nick Saban in Alabama. Nobody historically is, but especially not Brian Kelly. I'm going with the Crimson Tide. They might struggle. They might struggle, but Alabama pulls it out. Jonathan, I don't care what you say. Jonathan, I don't care what you say. Say one more thing. I'm going to disagree. LSU's not winning.
That place is going to be rocking, but I'm going Alabama.
Jaden Daniels next Lamar Jackson. He's not losing. All right, next game.
He just said that. He said that. Tell him to hop off the chat. Tell him to hop off the chat.
Jonathan, I'll just if you can't join the live next week, don't be surprised. Alabama wins.
Yeah. Texas, Kansas State. This will be fun.
Texas is favored. I did look at this game. Texas is favored.
Yeah, 2.5. Which
is weird. Where is this at?
Kansas State.
Brother. I'm going to go with Kansas State to win this game. I've been kind of doubting Kansas State the past few weeks, but I'm going to go with Kansas State. They ranked them pretty high at 13? Texas is still ranked. I'm going to go with Kansas State kind of reluctantly, but I'm going to go with Kansas State. K-State, baby.
Illinois, Michigan State.
Michigan State. I looked at this game. I want to pick Michigan State. I think it's on the road.
Even though they suspended 4 players or 8 players?
A lot of players, actually. I'm still going to go with Michigan State just because.
Really?
Just because. Fun little upset.
I'm going Illinois.
Fun little upset. As if because my pick'em records can handle a fun little upset pick. I can afford that. Not
at all. Why is this on NFL Network?
Is it a bummy game? Conference
of
USA
all games to put on, huh?
Is it like a bummy Conference USA game?
Of all games to put on NFL Network. You ready? I mean, they are pretty two close teams, I think. Houston, SMU.
That's not a terrible game. I thought it was going to be
why is it on NFL Network?
I thought it was going to be like Southern Miss Marshall or something.
No, but why is that on NFL Network?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
SMU's favored by 3. I think they're pretty evenly matched.
I'm gonna go with Houston. I think Houston's better.
Yeah, I was just about to say I'll probably go Houston.
Is this in Dallas?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Houston. I think Houston's just better. The better team.
Auburn, Mississippi State.
I can't pick Auburn right now. I can't find anything that can justify me picking Auburn right here. I don't care who they're playing. They could play Vanderbilt. I don't think I could pick Auburn.
Yeah, I'm going Mississippi State.
Mississippi State might. Oh, look, this would be a game that Auburn wins, though. They fire their coach that they didn't like, and they just win.
Elijah may actually hate us because last time we both picked Mississippi State, they lost.
Yeah. We're setting your guys up for success, Elijah. It's worked before, trust me. We're both picking Mississippi State. I just can't pick Auburn, bro. I can't.
South Carolina, Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. No, I'm just kidding.
This caught my attention because South Carolina is only favored by 6.5.
I don't think I've actually picked Vanderbilt this year. And we've talked about them like way more than we should have. So I'm going to go with Vanderbilt. Finally, we're going to pick Vanderbilt. South Carolina was ranked for the first time since whenever last week. They obviously squandered that and lost to Missouri. They're going to lose back-to-back games to Missouri and Vanderbilt just because Shane Beamer is a good coach. Vanderbilt is going to win against South Carolina.
So you're going to another upset pick, like your pick'em's can afford it.
Vanderbilt, give me the doors.
Don't ever say that again. South Carolina. I'm going South Carolina. James Madison, Louisville.
Louisville's coming off a top 10 win last week. James Madison is a good team.
It's 5-2.
They're
Louisville's favored by 7.5.
Oh, that means James Madison's lost back-to-back games. I'm gonna go Louisville. They're gonna make it 3 in a row. I'm going Louisville. Louisville's got the momentum.
Yeah, I'll probably go Louisville. But the Sun Belt, they've cooled down a lot, but
they started the year off very strong.
Florida State, Miami. I'm probably gonna go Florida State. Miami's terrible.
Miami sucks on every aspect of the game. Like football, Miami's not good at it. Just to say the least, Miami's not good at football. So I'm gonna go Florida State. Florida State's coming off a win. I'm gonna go Florida State.
Wake Forest, NC State.
I'm gonna go Wake Forest. Wake Forest had a pretty bad loss last week, but NC State doesn't have Devin Leary. I don't really trust them without him.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go.
I'm probably going Wake Forest.
Yeah, Wake Forest.
And I guess we can pick these last two. UCLA, Arizona State. UCLA.
I'll go UCLA.
And then USC in California. USC, I think.
USC.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean,
we could talk about the Ime Udoka situation for the NBA. We haven't really touched on the NBA. Just us two since Summer League in the draft. Or since talking about Summer League in the draft. We touched a whole NBA preview with Elijah and Jacob from the Ball Oasis podcast, if you guys want to check that episode out. But the Ime Udoka situation, this is kind of weird. I'm not sure if the NBA suspended him or the Celtics suspended him, because if the NBA suspended him, the Nets have to wait till next year for him to coach. If the Celtics suspended him, then the
Celtics suspended him, not the NBA.
Okay, so I think
so he can coach immediately.
Ime Udoka can coach. This is the last person I thought that was going to be hired by the Nets. Obviously Ime Udoka is a former assistant for the Nets under Steve Nash, and now he's replacing Steve Nash. So Ime Udoka does have time with Kyrie and KD, and other core players from that team like Joe Harris. I think this is obviously a good hire. He's a great defensive coach, like we saw last year. That's what helped Boston make a finals run, was their historic level defense, and Ime Udoka was part of that. And this is what the Nets have really been lacking, is defense. Defense.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to see what tweaks he makes to that lineup, and
he'll put out the most defensive capable lineup. Royce O'Neal. I haven't watched much of the NBA this season, to be honest. I've watched Grizzlies games.
Yeah, I haven't watched a lot. Just like Grizzlies games, and
I've watched most
late games where I just lay in the bed and watch them at night.
Yeah, but from the Nets, what I've seen is their defense is horrific. Steve Nash wasn't a very defensive oriented coach. He should
have seen that from the Grizzlies too, because theirs is too.
I think this is a great hire by the Nets. It's just whether or not, like, it took a while for Udoka to get his team's feet under them last season. But once they did, they were pretty much unbeatable. So I love this hire.
Unless you got Steph Curry on the other side.
Yeah, I love this hire for the Nets. I think Ime Udoka can. I mean, this situation is like any other we've seen before. Steve Nash was put in an impossible situation, like Steve Kerr said. You can't. I don't know if you can blame the guy with how ways like the thing turned out.
Yeah, like he didn't have Kyrie for like the whole season last year.
And Kyrie is a diva. He's been like Kyrie's just hard to handle. He's been very tough to handle.
There was 3 games this year already. KD and Kyrie combined for 100, and the Nets lost all 3 games.
You can't win games if you give up as many points as you score.
That is more. True.
Like, it's their defense, and Ime Udoka has shown that he's a excellent defensive coach, and that's exactly what the Nets needed. I thought they were going to go after like Mike D'Antoni or something, or just let Jacques Vaughn right out the year. But I love this hire for the Nets. I think Ime Udoka was a fantastic hire. That's exactly what they needed, was a defensive-minded head coach. It's just a very weird situation. Like, I don't know if you can blame Steve Nash for the way he handled things or blame Steve Nash for getting fired. Like, he was put in an impossible situation. Kyrie was Kyrie. KD wanted out. You had the Harden situation. Now you got the Ben Simmons situation. It was a very impossible situation to be in. Like, I did not envy him as the head coach of the Nets.
Now Ben Simmons is hurt again, by the way.
Yeah, he's been sidelined for a couple games. But what we saw from Steve Nash having a decently healthy team for most of the year was an inch from probably a championship. This is all we can say. He was an inch from probably a championship. What every other coach says about Steve Nash is mostly praise. Most coaches around the league think he's a genius as a head coach. Offensively, yes. It's just hard to excel in that situation for anybody. So yeah, Ime Udoka, new head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. We can talk about the World Series. Have you watched any?
I was going to say we've touched every sport. You want to just talk about the World Series?
I mean, have you watched the World Series?
A little bit. I haven't watched it and watched the whole game, but I watched bits and pieces.
Last night, Lance McCullers got rocked. The Phillies were raking last game. Bryce Harper opened the game.
Bryce Harper is having a postseason.
Yeah, he's
got to be World Series MVP if they win, right?
Absolutely. He's part of the reason why they're there. That swing against the Padres to end the NLCS was one of the craziest moments I've seen since watching baseball, which granted hasn't been that long, but that was a crazy swing. And, the moment Bryce Harper, leaving Philly, the bad taste in his mouth when he leaves Philly. Washington comes out with the title, and he has, to prove himself. He left Washington for a reason. Go out and win a title with Philly, and I think all the noise will leave if he wins a title with Philly, which is looking like it. I hate that the Astros have been so consistent the past, half decade since they've made the World Series for the first time. They've just been so consistent. It's just in that they haven't put things together. Oh, you could say, oh, they needed to cheat to win, but like the team is so talented, cheating or not. It's just I think the Astros should easily win this series. Like, talent-wise, the Phillies kind of match up.
I think I'm picking the Phillies at the moment.
Yeah, but I
do think the Astros tied up tonight. I think they tied the series up tonight.
I don't know. Philly raked last game, and Philadelphia's a hard environment to win in.
I just feel like it's going to 6 or 7.
I don't know if I think Christian Arias is No, what's not? That's not who. That's not who that is. Um, I'm thinking of the Astros pitcher, whoever's pitching tonight. Um,
Um, Javier.
yes, Christian Javier.
Javier, my bad. I said
Not
that shit wrong.
not Arias. Um, it's just he's got to pitch better than McCullers is, which is what McCullers did last game, which isn't hard at all. McCullers pitched a terrible game last game. I just think that the Astros are very disappointing when it comes to, World Series time. They obviously have one under their belt. Whether they think or they deserve it or not, they do have one. They have a appearance in 2019. What's crazy to me is I figured this out. Every time that the Astros have lost the World Series, it's been to an NL East team. They obviously haven't lost yet, or they may not lose this year. But they played the Braves, who were in the NL East. They lost to them last year. They played the Astros or the Nationals.
They played the Astros,
or they played themselves. They played the Nationals,
and they lost
in 2019. They played the Nationals in 2019, who are in the NL East, and they're playing the Phillies this year, who are in the NL East, which I thought was pretty crazy.
Never mind, I was wrong. I'm wrong. I was going to say, wasn't Bryce Harper on that team?
What team?
But he wasn't. I don't think he wasn't on the Nationals then, was he?
No, he was. He left. He had just left in free agency.
Yeah, he had left the year before that or something. It was close.
The offseason before, he had just left.
They lost their best player. I remember that because they lost their best player and won a World Series.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty crazy. I didn't even follow baseball, and I was like, man, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm just now getting into baseball like that too.
Yeah, man, the World Series has been pretty crazy. It hasn't really been close since Game 1, since Philly came back from 5-0. But
that was crazy.
Yeah, it was. Game 4 is in Philly again tonight.
It just started.
I think Philly wins again tonight. I think Philly wins.
They went from the ropes
up 3-1. I think Philly wins again. I think Philly wins the World Series this year. Philly's really, really, really good. It's just top to bottom. That team is amazing. But that'll be the end of this episode. We appreciate you guys listening or watching. If you guys watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to make it to 100 subscribers. We're up to 70 right now. We're trying to hit 100 subscribers soon enough before 2023. Let's hit 100 subscribers for 2023. Hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification bell so you guys never miss when we're live for an episode. Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. We are wherever you guys get your podcasts. And we appreciate you guys watching. We'll be back next week. We'll see you guys next week. Redundant.